Hi, everybody. Welcome to Making Money from Music podcast. Today, we are going beyond the music and exploring the business behind it. Many musicians are passionate about creating great music, but very few understand ways they can generate income from their talent. So I'm with Daniel again today, and our conversation today will be around how can you make money teaching, coaching, and mentoring. Hi, Daniel. Welcome back.
Hi, Innocent. Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you again. Look, man, you know what happened today?
Yeah, we had a time mishap, but
Yeah, great. So it's good to be live and good to see you. Where can we start? I think our conversation really has been about the business side of music and making money in music, and we've had very interesting conversations last week regarding that. And today it's about teaching, coaching, and mentoring. Let's just dive in.
yeah,
I'm going to ask you one question there. Why do you think so many musicians teach, coach, and mentor music should do that?
it's a good question. I mean, there's two main reasons, and one of them is like because most of the musicians who are drawn to teaching and coaching and mentoring others love to help people to learn to play music because it's just really satisfying for them to do it. They love doing it, and they want to help people learn just like their teachers help them. So most of us who learn music, we had great teachers, and when we develop skills ourselves, we feel like sharing them on with others. So that's one big reason why people do it. The other big reason why more and more people I see these days are starting to teach, especially in the electronic music world, which is more newer, and that's because it's just a big market and a more stable income, where income from music, it can be very unpredictable. If you're gigging, putting out music, it can be very up and down. You don't really know how much you're going to make. If you have students paying you every month, you've got steady income, and that's really much more secure than a lot of other ways for musicians. So the love of it is a big one, and then the nature of teaching being more stable income, being more predictable, more regular, that is very attractive as well. So I think both of those reasons are why I did it myself. And to kind of, we did talk about my background as a musician last time we spoke, but I don't know if I mentioned this fact, but over the years, like I've sold over 1 million euro worth of guitar lessons. So
That's quite interesting.
yeah, it sounds like a big number, but when you spread it over a really long time, it's not that big. So, it's a accumulation over about a decade of running a school. That's how much we did, over 1 million euro. But of course, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. So I didn't get to keep the million because we had expenses.
Great. And then you're talking about the love of music and the teaching being a very big part of the process for you to earning money. When it comes to teaching, I'm just curious on how does teaching help you as an artist? Because in most cases, if you are very passionate about a specific subject and you teach it to other people, you actually become very better at it. How does that compare to the music that you just mentioned now?
Very true. I 100% agree. There's like a saying that if you help people learn something, then nature just helps you get more of that thing as well. So over my long time teaching, 30 years now, I've definitely found that happened with me. I'm helping people learn, and even though you're teaching people at a much more basic level than where you're at, you're just kind of ingraining the fundamentals over and over again, And many, many great teachers and great musicians have told me that to get really good, it's all about the fundamentals. The fundamental things, you just keep on working on them for a really long time, you get better and better at them. So I think that's one reason why it helps you get so much better, because you're not just practicing the fundamentals. If you're teaching other people, you're really taking them apart and putting them back together over and over again. You're seeing exactly what it takes to learn to play, and that is helping you to get better in your own playing. So yeah, you definitely keep improving as a musician if you're teaching other people.
Great. So when you're a teacher, there are certain elements that also come into play, which are, when you're playing, it's different than when you're teaching, because sometimes as a teacher, you tend to be teaching people that have not played before, all right? So what do you think can help a musician who's a teacher who approaches like people that have never played before, in a sense that they can create business from that? Because sometimes if you're teaching someone music, teaching someone to play a guitar who's never played before, it can be a very demanding and a very frustrating journey. And how do you think, a person that is approaching teaching for the first time to use it as business or to monetize it, how can they approach that?
Yes, that's a good question. And I think if you don't have some amount of patience, it's probably not for you. You do need to be patient. I think the reason why I'm a good teacher is because I was slow at progressing, at least in my own eyes. I slowly progressed in music from starting, and I just kept on getting better and better by practicing. And I'm really good now because I've done it so long and I've kept on practicing and getting better. But I didn't get really good really quickly. So having recognized that, I think it makes me a good teacher, because I have a lot of patience. I have a lot of time for people to slowly get better. And I'm looking at it like a challenge every time. So if you have music skills and you're, first of all, to like reach people who have not played before, who are total beginners, you have to put yourself in their mind, think like them. What do they want to do? And you try to like what they want, what I think they want, number one, more than anything else, is they want to know they're able to do it. If people have never done it before, they just have this doubt in their mind. I don't know if I can ever do that. It seems so hard. It seems so impossible. Maybe they tried loads of times. They might have tried, many times, and they couldn't do anything. So they have this strong doubt in their mind. And, the main way that I sold all those guitar lessons, over €1 million worth in the school, was we used to do intro sessions for free. And free intro session that's how we ran our school. Was if somebody contacted us and they're interested in lessons, we'd book them in for an introductory session, no charge. They come in, and it was about like half an hour, maybe a bit longer. And I would teach them something very easy, usually the tune Ode to Joy. Actually, do 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 do. That little tune on guitar is very easy to play, very easy. It's just like opens and ones and threes, and it would take me like 15 minutes maybe to teach them. And almost everyone, in all those 10 years, almost everyone could do that. Between 10 to 20 minutes time, they could do that. And having done that showed them in a very short amount of time, it gave them the confidence. Yes, I can do this. If I can do this little tune, this easy tune, I can do more. I can learn. I can become good. So, by far most people who came in and did that, they signed up for classes then. And, over 10 years, we taught loads and loads of people, and did over €1 million over 10 years. And that was, that was how we grew our school. So if you're good, the number one mistake I see teachers making is they make it too hard. So the student is like frustrated and can't do it. You have to just boil stuff down to make it so easy for someone to be able to do it who's never done it. If you can do that, I mean, I never got bored doing that. I always found it like an enjoyable challenge to see like, a new person, let's see if I can teach them how to joy and even like make it even easier, make it even quicker. I was always like enthusiastic, and that was kind of, that was, contagious as well. If I was enthusiastic, then they would have a good time. So those things are important.
Cool. So I think people do like to create things on their own. I think there's just something about I made this, it makes you feel good about yourself. I think that's the entire business model of IKEA. They give you like the directions, and if you want to get a desk, they will package it for you with all the tools, and then you go home and then you do it yourself. And after you've done it yourself, you feel great. You look at yourself and like, I did that. And I think it's one of the things that people like to do. I also remember when I learned how to drive, at first in the beginning, I thought, I can never do this. And when I did drive a little bit, it made a very huge difference. So that's what you're saying there, that as a teacher, don't just bombard people with your skills and try to show them how cool you are and how fast you are with playing a guitar. What you're saying there is take them step by step, just as your new clients who don't understand this new journey that they are on. That if you're a teacher, there's an element of patience that you might need to have, and imposing your difficult technical skills to your student might not be the great way to do it. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. I come from a world of a cappella. So, do you know Lady Smith Black Mambazo?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. So the music that I used to do there, Daniel, we used to sing a cappella. So we would have like different parts and we will harmonize on our music, and it was cool. But I'm thinking now, as you're talking about the monetization of music in terms of like teaching people instruments, and I know a lot of great singers in the a cappella industry who just can't monetize that gift. What would you say on that as a person who's built a business in music, playing, and maybe as a person who engages with a lot of lead vocalists and etc.? How can a person make money teaching people how to sing with their voice?
Well, I mean, it's not that complicated. There's always people who love singing, but they want to learn, they want to get better at it. That's a huge market. There are people out there basically who are just waiting for you to start teaching them if you're a good singer. That's the way to see it, is like these people are there waiting for me to just say, hey, do you want to learn? I want to teach you. And there's so many ways that you can start. You start marketing yourself. We started off with door-to-door flyers, just printing out flyers, just dropping them all around our area, over and over again as well. Because you do it one time, you might not hear anything, and that's normal. You got to repeatedly do it. Then you get on the internet, you get on social media, you start telling people that you are teaching, and you have to see yourself as a teacher. And even if you've never taught before, I look at it like any other skill. You get better at it the more you practice it. So if you're someone who's never taught before and you feel you're not sure about it, then you could start off with, teaching people for a very low hourly rate. Just get some experience. Just say, look, I'm trying to get some experience. I'll do it for this amount, and just get some people in find some people to do some lessons with you, see if you enjoy teaching. If you do enjoy it and then they have a good time, you get some testimonials from them. You can start putting them on a website or, just on your social media pages and like that. That's a good way to start, and you can build it up from there.
Yeah. So it's a process that takes time. And you need to have an element of hustle as well, because as much as you're a musician, you are now a business person. And you look at it as bills need to be paid. We need to take care of some expenses. And I need to have structures that are running this as that. I'm thinking about confidence. What role does it play for you to be a teacher? Do you need to, because some people are good at their music, but they're a little bit shy, and they're like, yeah, I get what you mean. You're saying this because you can stand in front of thousands of people and play your guitar and showcase your skills. But I'm genuinely very good at what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm a shy dude, I want to do it, but I don't think I have the confidence. What would you say to those kind of people that are in that camp?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I mean, the being really good at music is really different from being really good at teaching people music. So it's a very different skill set. And the confidence comes from doing it, from getting some results. So like working with the first few students, if you're not sure about it, that will help you build your confidence. Just having some kind of wins. There's nothing better than just experiencing it. And if you can get up on stage in front of many people, then I'm sure you've got the confidence to teach, a few people in a room. It's probably most people would be really scared of getting up on stage. So that's like there's much more people watching it when you're doing that. But if you're teaching people, mostly it's about communication. That's what teaching is. It's more, yes, there's skills that you're trying to teach people, but this is why I wanted to talk about how I think this is like a really good AI proof career going into the future, because I don't think that AI is going to be teaching anyone to play music,
Yeah.
or if it is, it's not going to do a good job. And I say that because as someone who, I like learning languages, I like studying languages. So I've noticed over the last few months, loads of apps are popping up. They're language teaching apps, and they're popping up all over the place because they're made with AI now. They're AI apps, so they're easy for people to make. So they explode onto the marketplace because anyone can do it. So I tried one of these apps, and it's just not a good way to learn, in my experience of it. Because it can't understand me. It can't understand my mind. If you're teaching someone, imparting the skill to them is a part of it, but all the different people that you come across all have, basically each of them has a unique set of a personality with different ways that they learn. And in order to be a good teacher, you have to understand the student, how they learn. You have to be able to use different ways to get it across. And even more than that, you're going to find pretty quickly that people get frustrated when they can't do something. How do you work with that? Like, if someone who's frustrated, someone who's getting angry, someone who's not enjoying themselves is in danger of saying, I can't do this, isn't for me, and that person's going to quit and not do it anymore. As a teacher, I see the job as only a small amount, is like maybe 10% of it is actually showing them how to do the skill. And the other 90% is like creating an environment for them where they feel comfortable. You can make them laugh. Laughing's super important. If someone gets frustrated and then you can make them start laughing about it, they're relaxing then. They don't mind. You have to be able to show them that you can't get better without just making loads of mistakes, just mistake after mistake. It's absolutely fine to make mistakes. That's why, kids, if you teach young kids, which I used to do, but I don't do it anymore, younger kids, they don't care about making mistakes because they're just a kid. So no one expects them to do really well. So that's a big that's a big, pro when it comes to teaching kids. But then the con is it's hard for them to enjoy it and see it as fun because it's hard. They don't like things that are hard. So, it's a balancing act. But with adults have this mindset of I tried it once, I didn't do it. I'll try it twice, I didn't do it. I tried it 3 times, I can't do it. They give up after 3 times. Adults are just so impatient when it comes to learning something. And you have to, as a teacher, you have to make sure they understand that, if they do it wrong 99 times in a row, that's just the way it is. On the 100th time, you might get it right. You don't know how many times it's going to take, but all you know is if you keep on trying it very patiently, you will be able to do it. You just don't know how long it's going to take. That is how I got good at playing guitar. Being patient and just not giving up and keeping on doing it for a really, really, really long time.
Right. So, just to double click on that, that's a fact that most of the times as adults, when we approach things, I think maybe it's the pressure of being perfect that we can't separate between I did this bad from I am a bad person, I'm very bad. I can't do this. I think it's that fear of being judged. So in terms of skills, what skills can musicians teach, even if they don't see themselves as teachers? For someone who doesn't see themselves as a teacher, who wants to get into this and start teaching, what skills do you think they might already have that they don't know they do?
So you mean musical skills? Teaching people music?
I mean, just general skills. Could be, teaching music skills. It could be their own skills, like as a musician, because, one of the things is you can't teach what you don't know. But how do you position yourself within the range of skill that you have? If you're a drummer, how do you teach those skills? And what skills do you have as a drummer that you think you might not have that might be very useful for you to start teaching? And do you have to teach people that are interested in music only, or you can maybe teach other people that are just interested in drumming just for a day or two and turn that into an income?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it kind of touches on the concept of what's your niche going to be as a teacher.
Yeah.
If you're going to teach people, probably you should look at your own skill set very carefully and see what skills do you have that you can market to people, that you can sell people. What do people want that you can do? So, when I started my school, actually, it was called Dunleary. That's where I lived. It was called Dunleary Guitar and Ukulele Lessons, and I didn't play ukulele myself, but I saw that there was a lot of people wanting to learn ukulele because it was just very in at the time. So I was like, how hard can it be? A ukulele it's basically a smaller guitar with less strings. So I thought I can teach that, no problem. And for the first few years, our school was like 50-50 ukulele guitar. 50% guitars, 50% ukulele students. And I mixed them together, even in the same classes. I didn't differentiate. I didn't have ukulele only. I just brought them together and we learned songs, and I would teach them, You know, some people playing the ukulele, some people playing guitar. And, you know, it worked pretty well. But after a few years of doing that, I had data and I could see that the people who played the ukulele were more likely to not do it very long. And guitar, it was a more serious, longer term type of student. So after a couple of years, I made the decision to drop ukulele. I didn't like get rid of my ukulele students. I just stopped taking new ukulele students, and the ones who I had, they gradually dropped off, and I replaced them with guitar students, so it became guitar only. So that's an interesting story in terms of, it would be hard for me initially to know what would happen, you know, until I got the data and realized over time ukulele wasn't as good of a niche for me. But I do think it's interesting that it was something that it wasn't really me. It wasn't really like, I didn't go, oh, I wasn't teaching ukulele because I loved ukulele. You know, I just thought like, oh, loads of people want to learn it, so let me add it to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you're probably better off not doing that in business. You know, you're probably better off if you go with what you really care about first. You know, your own favorite stuff that, you know, you'll never get bored of teaching it because you love it that much. To look at those aspects of your own playing, your own practice, you know, the styles that you love. Another style, we never taught classical. If somebody came into the intro session and said, I really want to learn classical guitar, can you teach me classical? And that only happened probably twice in 10 years. People didn't, you know, they went to other places because they just won't find us if they were looking for classical. But a couple of times it happened, and I said, no, can't teach you. I don't teach classical. They went somewhere else. It just was, it's not, I don't, you know, it's not a world of music that I really care deeply about. So I didn't want to teach it. So I love jazz, but there's not enough people to make a business out of teaching jazz. But I also love other types of music, blues and rock music and, you know, Beatles and classic old music. I love all that music. So I was very happy to teach people that music. So that's what I did. So that went really well, and that became the bread and butter of our business over 10 years, was teaching people to play like classic rock and pop and soul on guitar. And a few students learned more jazz stuff. But yeah, it's like there's a Venn diagram of like your skill set and your favorite stuff that you really want to teach, and then the market and what the market wants, and where that overlaps, that is what to focus on.
So you're saying stay on a lane. Don't try to do things that you can't do.
Yeah.
Master the ones that you already know. Become very good at it. And then invite other people as well to join you in learning what you've spent years trying to do.
Yeah.
How can musicians position themselves as experts then by sharing their knowledge to monetize it?
Another great question. Yeah. Positioning yourself as a teacher, it's going to take time. If you've never done it before, you have to start with the shift of mindset that I'm a teacher. You know, to talk about my shift of mindset, you know, I probably talked about it, but well, I came back from this traveling the world in 2010. I've been traveling for 2 years and 8 months, came back to Dublin, and I was like trying to figure out for a good 2.5 years time, I was trying to figure out like a way to make a livelihood from music, trying loads of different stuff. And out of that experimenting and trying different things, it became clear after 2.5, 3 years that the teaching was a really good way that I enjoyed, and I could make money. So, that was an identity shift that I went through from seeing myself as someone who's a musician and an artist and a teacher and I do lots of different stuff. And, it's all a bunch of like part-time stuff. And I changed from that. I saw myself as a teacher, full-time teacher, who's also an artist, but mainly income-wise, livelihood-wise, I saw myself as teacher, teaching people. And that created the school, the business, because, I saw the vision of it first in my mind. I started saying, I have a school. And like, my wife at the time, she used to always say like, I like rented out an office room. It was just an office. And I'd be like, I'm going to the school. She'd be like, that's just an office. It's not a school. But in my mind, it was a school. I saw it and I made it happen. And, after a couple of years, it was the school. And she was working at the school as well. We had like 4 rooms instead of 2 rooms. And it was a school, a sign outside and everything. So it starts in your mind first. You have to see it and then it happens. So if you want to position yourself as that, you have to see yourself as that. And you can't like fake it, it sounds like a paradox maybe, but I always believe in just being honest, and you can see yourself as something in the future and still be honest and say to people that like, I'm just starting out as a teacher, so I'm offering these lessons at a special half price rate or whatever it is, 50% off for your first whatever. And, you can start that way. And after a few months, you could be much more confident as a teacher. You can start upping your rates to like normal prices, whatever the going rate is. After a few more months, you start like putting it up again because you are going to like be better even than other teachers around you. So you have to position yourself kind of in 2 ways. One way is knowing that you see yourself as that, you're going to do that and make it successful. And the other way is by getting real world experience and getting testimonials and actually doing an amazing job, giving an amazing service.
So position in your mind first.
Yeah.
That's what's important, because from there, then you can start offering your services quite well. That's great. How does teaching become a very significant income stream for a musician?
I mean, if you just by starting doing it and then growing the amount of students you have, the amount of hours you're doing it, you're going to probably find there's a lot of different ways to teach. And we talked about at the beginning coaching and mentoring as well, which is different from teaching. So that's a good way to kind of position yourself. Actually, you could call yourself a teacher, which is quite common, and that's a basic thing that most people who play an instrument, I'm looking for a teacher. But if you call yourself a coach, that's different, and if maybe your market's slightly different. So maybe if you're really good at your instrument, you could be looking at becoming a coach to people who are already playing, a long time and they want to get better. So it's a different aspect, it's a different market. Or a mentor, if you have experience in the music industry, if you play gigs, if you release music, then maybe you could be more of a mentor to people who are looking to do that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways, and it takes experience and research as well to know how big is the market for all these things. I mean, the market for beginners who are just looking to learn is huge. There's always more people who don't play, who want to play, than anyone else, because it's just rare for people to get.
Yeah, and there's lots of people who want to be famous as well. So they're like,
Yes.
you know what? if I can master this, I'll be so famous and so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to earn money from teaching or coaching or mentoring, and you choose one of those, then you've got different formats that you can do it in. You can do one to one, and finding one to one clients, people who are going to pay you to spend your time just with them. It's maybe the most common form of music teaching that there is, and it's very limiting. It's maybe a good way to start, get some experience at the beginning, but it is going to, you're going to hit a limit with that pretty quick. Like, how much time can you do that? I know I've known people in the past who taught one to one 40 hours a week, and let me tell you, that is not like any other job. If you have a job 40 hours a week, how many hours do you actually work intensely? Because it's not 40, you're walking around, you're going here, you're going there, you're relaxed, you're not intensely working. But if you're teaching one to one, it's like you don't get, your tension is absorbed with that person like the whole time. And 40 hours, it's insane. You can't do that. So you burn out if you do that. So this one guy I know in Texas, he was doing that. 80 students a week, 80, like 40 hours of 80. So, that's just a recipe for absolutely burning out. So you can't do that. So I've done like 20 hours, and even that, you're wrecked. 5 hours or 4 hours teaching like that it's very intense. So it's not really recommended to build a business on one to one unless you get other teachers in to teach for you, and you're looking at getting a big volume of people in, which it's not impossible, but there's a business, what's it called? It's a very common understanding in business that if you want to grow your business, there are three ways you can grow any business. The one way is that you can increase the frequency of the payments. You can increase the amount of payments. So you can in other words, you can increase the amount of students. And if you're teaching one-to-one, you can only do that, and then it's capped because of your time. So you just hit the limit. You can increase the frequency. So instead of them coming once a week, you say, come twice a week, come 3 times a week. But if your time is capped, you're still capped. So, and then the other one is increase the amount, charge more. So if you were to be a really good one-to-one teacher and, I'm full now. I'm teach 20 hours a week, but now I'm full. Now I'm going to increase my rates, increase them again, increase them again. You could, in theory, you could keep increasing your rates, and some people would drop off, and then maybe other people would come in, and then that's kind of what I've done, because I've taught for so long now that my rates are quite high for one-to-one lessons. So I don't necessarily even want that many students. If someone's willing to pay me for a one-to-one lesson, then okay, I'll do it. But and with those three ways of making more money, the interesting one is increasing the amount of students, but not teaching one-to-one anymore. That means you expand into groups. So you can take a lot more students if you teach groups. And then if you expand, frequency, maybe have groups even more than once a week, you could do that. And then you could raise the prices as well. So those ways give you a lot of different ideas about how to actually increase your income as a teacher, and not just to think in a very traditional way that I'll just, charge so much an hour and teach 20 hours a week, and I'll do that till I die.
Great. Well, so it seems like a proper structure can really get you from 0 to 100. And a good mindset can make a very big difference in this business. Thanks very much, Daniel. Is there
Yes.
anything else that you think we left for today that we didn't chat about?
No, but the last comment you made on mindset
Hmm.
is what I think worth saying, that it's not just good or part of, it's everything. And every mentor that I've ever had, every business mentor that I've ever had has said the same thing, that
Yeah.
mindset is everything. And I used to years ago hear that from my mentors, and I used to say, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mindset. Yeah, my mindset's great. My mindset's great. I kind of just,
That's quite crazy because when I first heard about these terms the first time, I was like, what is that? Some people will say, yeah, mindset is very important. They don't know. They think like, should I like grab my brain and like train it to be very strong, or what is mindset? Because that's very important. And what mindset really is, it's just like your own personal communication, removing all the gunk that you've been taught for the rest of your life and removing the need to be special, to be seen, to be this and that, because most people would do these kind of things so that they can be seen. Some people just don't want the money. They want to be famous, you know?
yeah,
They want to be famous so desperately. Like they'll do anything because they think, look, if I can only be famous. So part of mindset is that. And I think at any time in your life, whether in a negotiation or you are in music or you're doing any form of business, anytime you find yourself seeking validation, you've just killed the deal. You're gone.
yeah,
So
very
part
true.
of mindset is separating yourself maybe between the art and the business.
Yes, very true, very true. And we'll probably actually in a future episode just do a whole episode on mindset, because it's such a huge subject. We could talk about it for
Right.
an hour.
Maybe next week.
But yeah, we should, yeah. But to end and to say, what is it? What is mindset? It is a kind of it's a word that encapsulates a lot of stuff. So I like how you described it there. And it's about your set of beliefs about yourself and beliefs about business. And when I used to dismiss it, when I used to say like, yeah, 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 my mindset's great, my mindset's great, I'm going to
No
be
one likes
successful.
that.
I'm going to be successful. Like my mindset's good. It's much more than that. There's a lot
Yeah.
of there's like deeper things in your own mind that you're
Yeah.
not even that aware of. And nowadays,
Yeah.
when I hear my mentors talk about mindset, I'm not dismissing it anymore. I've I've gotten wiser to the point that I realize I still need to work on my mindset all the time. I read books, I'm always reading, getting inspired, trying to, trying to keep myself really enthusiastic and energetic. So I put in these, good actions all the time into my business to grow it, full of enthusiasm and joy and energy, all those good things. And you can't do that without having a good mindset. It's not going to work if you're fuming and annoyed and like, no one's buying my stuff. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, I hate this. Oh, it's not going to be good.
I'm annoyed.
Why didn't you buy it? So good. Oh, trying to help you. Don't you realize?
Yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. Well, thanks very much, Dan. And I think let's meet next week again and
Yeah.
chat about mindset. So our next topic is mindset.
Great.
For anyone listening who has a comment, please share it with us. We'd like to read your comments. And thanks very much, Daniel.
See you, Innocent.
Take care.
Bye bye.